We just got back from a vacation to Jackson Hole. Right now I'm in the midst of unpacking and getting clothes put away, so I figured I'd talk to you all about our trip. Hopefully you find this video helpful if you're planning. When I was deciding to go on this vacation to Jackson Hole, I had a lot of anxiety about traveling with toddlers. What are they gonna do? What it's gonna be like? And listening into someone who's a real life person and not only just like dedicated to travel all the time is helpful to hear what they did, how the experience was, etc. It was a full week, beautiful views, breathtaking views, and I have to say it was probably the most beautiful place that I've ever been to. It was just nature in the most special way. Just a lot of like relaxing downtime that me and my husband Zach don't normally get. I wouldn't say it was totally relaxing. We do have two toddlers, Sailor who's 2 and Rome who's 1, and they keep us on our toes, and traveling with toddlers is not for the faint of heart, but it was nice to spend all of our time with them. And Zach worked full time, so it was nice to just like spend the week with them, literally not have anything we had to do, just enjoy and take in a lot of beautiful scenery. It was a week of like not a whole lot on the agenda. We had things that we wanted to hit, but it wasn't like we planned out every moment, and you kind of have to be that way when you're traveling with toddlers. We found that the key was really breaking up the day with kid-friendly things. Another thing, so this isn't my normal content. At Everything Erin, I'm usually talking about home design and fixing up our first home, but this time around I'm going to take you a little bit along on this trip. And whenever I go and I travel somewhere, I do try to bring back different design ideas or little details that may be applicable to my home. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I saw out in Jackson Hole in terms of design style. So thank you for subscribing to Everything Erin. This is my first full YouTube video. I've been doing a lot of shorts. So I'm going to bring you through what we did that week, how everything went. I'll show some pics of the scenery and the views, and again, not my typical content, but we just came back from this amazing trip and I feel like I've got just so many things that I want to share. So let's go. So why did we pick Jackson Hole? I feel like we heard a lot of great things about the views, the nature, like the western town itself. If you hear my daughter shouting in the background, she's downstairs with Nana and Grandpa. We decided that we wanted to do something a little bit different than what we normally do. The last couple vacations that we went on were Aruba or a beach destination, and to be honest, we live 10 minutes from the beach, so we know we're going to be enjoying that all summer long. We wanted to do something different and we wanted to get away, and we knew we had to do something that would be semi-kid friendly. This seemed like something that we wanted to try out. We got every single type of weather you can even think of. It was like warm in the 60s some days and sunny, and then like we had one day it was like literally snowing, and both of those different days had its own beauty to it. So first off, my husband was the one who booked the hotel, and we picked the lodge at Jackson Hole. We saw that it had some amenities, a pool and some other family-friendly things. It was also not too expensive. We wanted something kind of like in the mid-range, so he wound up booking that. We also knew we had to get a rental car, so we knew we needed something big because we have the kids, all of the luggage that goes along with that. We rented a Suburban, and we were so glad that we did something nice for the rental car because we spent a lot of time in the car driving around to different sites. What else before? I had to pack for every kind of weather, so I'd pack like sweaters and thermals. We also packed bathing suits for the pool. Yeah, we got more swimsuits, and we had to pack like winter coats all the way to t-shirts because the weather there is kind of all over the place, and so we had to be prepared for all different types of weather elements, but that meant a lot of packing. It also meant that we got to see Jackson Hole and the views of the mountains in every different type of weather. And let me tell you, the snow coming down on the mountain was just so breathtaking. I'll never forget the snowy views that we saw, and I hate snow on a normal day, but I was so glad that it snowed there. I have a whole new appreciation for pine trees. Anyway, so let's start at the beginning. We stayed at the lodge. We really enjoyed that hotel. Again, it didn't feel too upscale. but didn't feel too downscale. It was very clean and maintenance, and the staff there was very friendly. They had free breakfast every single day, which was really nice. The pool was like a key selling point for us, for the kids. We knew we could like spend some downtime there. I also wanted to mention we rented gear through Baby Quip. So we did bring our jogger stroller, which was ours, but we rented there the car seats, so 2 car seats, a box of toys, sleeping pen. I've used Baby Quip before on other vacations and they're awesome, and I had a great experience in Jackson Hole as well. It's so convenient to have the person pull up to you at the airport. Zach installed the car seats, we loaded the toys and the travel crib in the car, and then off we went. And then, then I was able to text the guy when we were leaving to coordinate another pickup for him at the airport before we got on our flight. And it was seamless. It was very seamless. So anyway, the box of toys, we find that so helpful in the room. As me and Zach are getting ready ourselves or getting the kids dressed or just like cleaning things up around the room, the kids have some toys to play with, so they're not going crazy. We didn't want their vacation to only be TV time. I definitely recommend renting a box of toys if you can, because it was definitely helpful for us in the room. So day 1. We got there, we dropped our things, we unpacked and got situated in the room. I feel like that's key, is to just like be fully unpacked and ready to go for taking care of the babies. I ended up just going to the pool for a little bit, and then grabbed some dinner inside the room and went to bed. It was very low key. Day 2, we woke up and we were just like, let's go exploring. The views on the way in from the airport were insane, like mountains everywhere. About the airport that they told me is that only airport that's located inside a national park. Don't quote me on it, but that's what they told me. The mountains were in view everywhere. So we woke up day 1 and we were like, let's just go exploring. Husband wound up driving off this like off-beaten path to Jenny Lake. And to be honest, like it's funny, we kind of stumbled upon this view of Jenny Lake, but it wound up being my absolute favorite scene the entire trip. And we went back there on another day. I'll try to include a little snippet of the map of where it is here. We're at Jenny Lake. Probably the most beautiful view I've ever laid eyes on. So after that, we headed over to Teton Village, and so there's downtown Jackson Hole. They've got cool shops and restaurants and bars. That's where the famous like Antlers Arch is, and we took some pictures in front of that. So that's downtown Jackson Hole. There's a separate place called Teton Village, and that's just like a short 15-20 minute drive away, at the base of the Teton Mountains. It's kind of like a ski town, like a ski snowboard town. The famous Jackson Hole Resort is there. It has like restaurants and like souvenir shops and ski shops. You can tell it's very like ski resort-y, if that's a word. We went there because we wanted to go see the air tram. The air tram is essentially a big booth that goes to the top of the mountain. Let me tell you, it was so scary high. My husband and I had like a moment as like we were on the air tram where we had kind of freaked out, like, oh my god, we're being held in this booth by a metal wire with our 2 toddlers, like what are we doing? But it was so worth it. Being at the top of the mountain and seeing like the view of the entire Jackson Hole was incredible. It was super windy up there. There was snow at the top of the mountain, of course. They have this famous waffles place called Corbette's Waffles. It was so windy up there, to be honest. We didn't spend a lot of time up there because the kids were kind of like, I don't know, I was just nervous that they were cold. We did have their North Face coats on and all that. We had a little bit of like antsy, like let's get back down situation, but definitely recommend visiting the air tram. Very cool. They also have gondolas that go up like midway to the mountain. The summer season is open. We went like just before those things opened up. Still a little bit too cold, and they have like this awesome playground in the middle too that we didn't get to go to because it was closed. But if you do have kids and you're going during the summer, early fall months, definitely recommend you checking out this playground because this was like a top attraction that we wanted to see and get to see. In Teton Village, there's also a playground too, so if you have kids, we spent some time hanging out on the playground afterwards, and that was a lot of fun. Then we started our drive back to Jackson Hole and we stopped at the Grand Teton Visitor Center. So I don't think I explained this, but Grand Teton National Park is just next door to Jackson Hole, and it's actually just below Yellowstone National Park, which we went to Yellowstone National Park on another day, but we spent some time in Grand Teton National Park on day one, driving around. That's where Jenny Lake is. The visitor centers has floor to ceiling windows in it. They've got gift shops and a place to eat, and it's just breathtaking views of the Teton Mountains. The Teton Mountains are the most beautiful scene like ever. That's what you see from Jenny Lake, etc. Stopped there on the way back. Took some really great family photos. On our way back, my husband was really all about finding or seeing bears. So we're always like, as we were just driving through like any wooded areas, we were always on the lookout for bears. There's actually signs for bears everywhere. It says be bear aware, and they recommend that you carry, if you're outside of your vehicle, carry a bear spray, so that if you do come across a bear and you don't know what to do, they say don't run. But there's this bear spray that kind of like a pepper spray, I think. We did buy bear spray. I definitely recommend you do the same if you go to Jackson Hole. My husband carried it the entire time. So anyway, he loved to go like bear hunting, meaning like we just drove around and looked out for bears. On day one, we ran into a brown bear driving through Teton National Park. The bear actually came across the street in front of us, and it was like one of those things, like, people who are traveling to Jackson Hole, there's like spots where people sit out all day just to have a bear sighting. We happened chance just went down this road and a bear just like came across the street. You know, that's like apparently very rare. A bunch of videos and pictures. I think I was screaming, oh my God. We saw a total of 5 bears over the course of our week, all within the safety of our vehicle, thank goodness. It's really, really cool to see. You tend to know if there's a bear in the area because there's traffic, people who have parked their cars and have gotten out to snap some photos and whatnot. This bear that we saw on our day one, just funnily enough, like there was like only one car that was parked and had seen it. So like we almost like didn't stop. We almost just kept going. But the bear was like right there. It was wild. We did spend a lot of time in the car. Thankfully our kids are pretty good with that. We did bring some stuffed animals, toys, books. Rome also naps a couple times a day still. He'd like be sleeping for stretches, and then we'd always try to get Sailor, my 2-year-old, nap like middle of the day too in the car. I think I mentioned this before, but the key was to try to find things that they enjoyed and me and my husband enjoyed, and kind of like try to break up the day with them. Also went out to eat, to lunch or dinner every day. It was really fun. I'm gonna link all the restaurants that we ate at. I'd say my number one was Snake River Grill. Oh my God, I am still dreaming about fish that I ordered. I can't remember what the fish was called. Zach would know, but he's out on a run. But I'm still dreaming about that fish. It was so good. I also ate at local brunch spots for lunch. Tried to take advantage of the hotel free breakfast every day, which was nice to save a bit. Also say, so when you ask Sailor, my daughter, what her favorite part of the trip was, she'll say the up and down, aka the elevator, because my kids, all they wanted to do was get back to the hotel and ride the elevator. Don't get me wrong, they love the playgrounds too, but if you ask either of them, their favorite part was the elevator. Kids thing that we did to break things up, the children's museum there, and when you say children's museum, it's really crafts and toys all in a room that they can play with. I wanted to make sure the kids were having fun as well as me and Zach, so that was key, to just do a little bit of things that they enjoyed to do and things that we enjoyed to do. So day two, we went to Yellowstone National Park, and it was quite a day. It's funny. So I said Grand Teton National Park is down here. Yellowstone National Park is up here, and it's in parts of Wyoming and also Montana. And there's apparently 4 different entrances. And we woke up super early because my kids were jet lagged. So my kids were up at like 4 in the morning. And we're like, let's just hit the road and go to Yellowstone. We know it's far. Husband in the morning pops into the GPS, Yellowstone National Park. I didn't realize that it wasn't taking us to the south entrance of Yellowstone, which would have been the closest. And instead it was taking us to the west entrance. So we, again, we're both very, very tired. It's very early in the morning. We didn't get much sleep. We ended up on the route to the west entrance, and we're like, wow, this is far. This is like 2.5 hours to get there. Only because we were going around, and we realized we were going through Idaho to get to the west end. Long story short, there was a shorter way. Going to Jackson Hole, Yellowstone National Park should only be an hour and a half-ish. Yellowstone was a full day. So we came through the west entrance and we decided to go around this way in the small loop. There's a small loop and there's a big loop. And knowing that we had the kids, we knew we could do just one day, just the small loop. So we came in through the west entrance, and I'll show a little map here so you can see. But we went north, and then there was like stops along the way that were must-sees. They do give you a map when you get there, so you're able to check that out. We also downloaded an app that I'll link here too. Helped like kind of guide us. But to be honest, like a lot of the main spots, and like we only had time for the main spots, and also we had to consider like we're not like hiking with our toddlers. We were driving, getting out, looking at the scenic things, and then getting back in the car. There were some spots where we could let the kids explore. Yellowstone Day was definitely a day for the adults over the children. So Yellowstone National Park also had breathtaking views, a lot of waterfalls, a lot of paths where we can get out, and then we pull out the jogging stroller and just walk like a path, like a view of like a waterfall. Yellowstone Grand Canyon that we stopped at. Oh, I forgot to mention, since we went in the west entrance, we stopped at this really, really great breakfast spot called the Running Bear, and kind of made that long trek feel worth it, but it was really cute. The final couple stops were actually the bigger attractions, like Old Faithful Geyser was pretty cool to see, and Grand Prismatic, which is like this pool of different colors because it's literally being heated underneath the Earth's surface. Both of those were really cool to see. Grand Teton National Park doesn't have that kind of attractions, but I do think the scenery is more beautiful in Grand Teton. Yellowstone, of course, the scenery was beautiful. I feel like it was more about the attractions there. We ran into wildlife in both national parks. Yellowstone, we did see a bear and a cub out in the distance. Wasn't able to get a good picture of them. Lots of bison, buffalo, elk that we saw, and funnily enough, like there was a bison walking in the middle of the road and just minding his business while he's causing all this traffic. Apparently they do cause traffic, animals cause traffic jams a lot out there. It's funny, when we got to Old Faithful, it was a sunny day that day. It was like 60 degrees. It goes off every like 60 to 90 minutes. So we got there, we were just doing a lot of waiting. We're waiting for Old Faithful to erupt, and then we're gonna go grab some lunch. The kids were running around, and like it starts to get really gray out and it looks like it's gonna rain. Believe it or not, right before it started to like really snow, and it was like the weirdest turn of events. It starts to blizzard, and we just wanted to get a glimpse of this geyser going off because we had waited there so long, and that's like one of the biggest attractions at Yellowstone. It goes off. We were like, all right, we've got to get out of here. I think it goes off for like between 1 and 5 minutes, and we like maybe stayed for like a minute, and we're like, let's get inside. Then we toughed it out and went to Grand Prismatic at the end. That was our last stop, and really cool to see. So unique, like nothing I've ever seen before. And there is a dock that is stroller friendly. Yellowstone was a big day. When I got back, I was drained. It was a long day of car and shuttling the kids around. That day we didn't do a ton of like kid-friendly things because we had to dedicate the day to Yellowstone, but I'm glad that we toughed it out and just did it all that one day because we didn't get to go back. Or at least one other day we tried to go back, but I'll get to that later. So the day after Yellowstone, we had to really recover. One of the things we did was we were like, all right, we gotta do some kid-friendly things. There was a park in Jackson Hole where we took them to. The kids could just play on the playground there. I'm not gonna lie, we had a little bit of a tough morning. We took the kids to the playground, but there was a little bit of snow everywhere, so we were wiping things down, and we had some fun. Taylor got cranky, didn't want to leave when we had been there, but it was like kind of cold out, and then Rome started to have his moments, so we had to get out of there. And then to top it off this morning, we're getting ready to get out the door. It's like 5, 6 in the morning that these kids are up. We got a knock on the door that someone was complaining about the noise. So we have to be more proactive in the evenings, meaning we've got to get like everything like set and ready to go so that when they get up, they don't have time to be noisy. We just get them dressed and out of there as soon as possible because I do feel bad waking up
other guests at this hotel.
Then we went to the Children's Museum. So again, like we realized we did a big day for us, so we did a big day for them. We grabbed some lunch after, and then we drove out to this place called Coulter Bay. That's in Grand Teton National Park. I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful bay and scene, and we got to get the stroll around this trail. It's definitely one of the more like kid-friendly trails because it's stroller friendly. We wound up just like sitting by the bay and like looking out. They have a little dock there too, so I'm sure if it's like the summer months, those boats are going out there. And again, just like beautiful views, a really nice place to do a long walk. I recommend bear spray anytime that you're in your vehicle and outside in Jackson Hole. So the next day we went back to Jenny Lake. It was getting chillier out. Another low-key day. We did some driving around. We saw another bear. Dinner that night. I'm going to include all the restaurants we went to and thoughts and feelings in the comments, so I don't need to go through detail there. The dining overall in Jackson Hole is great. We loved every single place we went out to eat. There was a couple fancier spots, and then there's a couple more casual spots. We wound up going to this casual spot, Life Steak and Game, I think it's called, twice. Super kid friendly. A lot of the restaurants were kid friendly. I wouldn't say all of them. Most of them had crayons and little kids menus that they could entertain themselves with. My kids love to color. Our last day wound up being a snowy day, and we couldn't believe it when we woke up in the morning and there was like snow outside. Back home in New Jersey, it's like 80 degrees, and we're in Jackson Hole on our vacation and it's snowing. And to be honest, at first I was like bummed, but when we got out there and started driving, like we realized how freaking beautiful it was to see the snow landscapes, the snow in the mountains, the snow in the pine trees. I've had this new appreciation for pine trees. Like they're just so spectacular and they're everywhere. What did we do? We drove all the way back to Yellowstone that day thinking, oh, we'll see Yellowstone, it'll be beautiful in the snow. Turns out it was closed.
We drove all the way to Yellowstone and it's closed because of the snow. So we're getting the kids out and we're gonna do a little bit of snow play over here.
It's of Yellowstone, like right in front of the sign. And we just let them play in the snow. And like, we had driven all the way hour and a half-ish there, and we knew they needed a break from the car and we couldn't just turn back around. So we just went out and played in the snow. And they had a grand old time. So that was a lot. I have to say that was, in its own special way, one of my favorite days there. Took some scenic routes back. We packed. What else? So design things. So anytime I travel somewhere, I try to pay attention to the details of like the design elements where I am. I would never call my design style Western by any means. And there's definitely some things that are not my style, but I had to really appreciate the design and aesthetic of such a beautiful little town in the West, Jackson Hole. I wanted to share some of the things that like really caught my eye. First, I'll say is plaids. I actually do really love plaids. Living room rug is a plaid. Had plaid rugs, plaid curtains, and it was just like this beautiful muted brown. I loved that. I feel like I could see that being brought into a boys' nursery, a boys' room, so something to think about for the future. The thing is just rustic woods and stone. Lots of rustic wood and stone. Fireplace everywhere in Jackson Hole, and I love that. It's so cozy. But I was loving the cozy factor with the combination of rustic woods and stone and fire and snow. It was kind of the perfect juxtapositions that bring in such a cozy element into a lot of the restaurants and hotels. What else? Old time vintage pieces, whether that's lighting or rugs. Definitely saw a lot of like old time things being brought into the present, whether that's at a restaurant or a little coffee shop that we stopped into. So I took some photos of those. That's another thing that I really am aiming to do more of, bring in more vintage antique pieces, because I do think it brings such a fresh touch. I don't know if you remember when I did share it on YouTube, a YouTube short video, bringing in this vintage piece I found on my Facebook Marketplace. I used to have just like a black modern frame here, and this just adds like a ton more character and charm into the room. So I am looking to do that more, and that was another thing in Jackson Hole that I loved. That's our trip in a nutshell. I know I went through a lot. I'm gonna try to write up a bit of a blog post as well. And this is not my usual content, but I do enjoy to just be unpacking and unwinding with you guys and kind of recapping my trip. We had such an amazing experience and time. We took the best photos that we're gonna have for a lifetime. I just have such a profound new respect for the West and nature. That view on Jenny Lake, I will never, ever forget it. Looking back, I would 100% do the trip again. I do think that it made sense for our family and these two young toddlers to do the trip, and we were able to, again, break up the day and blend things that they were interested in and that me and my husband Zach were interested in. Now it's Memorial Day weekend and it's the summer, so I'm looking forward to having a lot of fun times in the summer as well. Thank you again so much for subscribing. I'm looking forward to bringing more long form videos of my home and life to you all. I'm thinking maybe of doing a bedroom tour sometime in the near future. We've been living in this house for 5 years and it's still not even close to finished. So I'll talk to you all soon. Check out the caption for some more details, and I'm hoping to write up a blog post for y'all soon.